Thank you. There's an old saying that prudence is the better part of valor. But it's equally true that valor is the better part of prudence. What I mean by that is simply that if we stand up to our fears, we get hurt less in the long run than if we run away. Facing up to fear is also the way to become a stronger person. Eleanor Roosevelt once observed that you gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. There's a true story about an old cowpoke who was asked as he lay on his deathbed what he'd learned of importance in his many years on the Great Plains. And curiously enough, his answer was that Hereford cows had taught him the most important lesson of all. I'll have more on this after this word. It was the Hereford cows that had taught this wise old cowboy his greatest lesson. Because in a prairie snowstorm, most cattle would turn their backs to the icy blast and slowly drift downwind mile upon mile. When they finally reached a fence, their path would be blocked, and they'd pile against the fence and die by the hundred. But the reaction of the Herefords was precisely the opposite. Instead, they headed directly into the wind and slowly made their way to the nearest fence. And there they would stand, shoulder to shoulder, facing the storm. We always found the Herefords alive and well, said the old cowboy. Life is filled with crises, major ones and minor, where we have to decide whether we're going to meet fearsome difficulties head-on or turn and run away from them. I remember a while back being seated at a dinner next to the late Warren Barber, who was then a United States Senator from New Jersey. He was a big, rugged-looking man. At one time, he'd been an amateur boxer and champion in his class. As tough as he was, he looked mighty nervous that night. Then he leaned over to me and whispered, "I'm glad you've got to speak first. Making speeches still scares the wits out of me." I couldn't believe my ears. Here was a great fighter and United States Senator trembling at the thought of talking to a group of people. But you know, I used to have the same problem myself, and I told him so. Then Senator Barber explained that he ran for public office just because he knew he'd have to get up and speak. He knew it was the only way to lick that fear. You too can make your fear a stepping stone to growth, power, and success. If you can boldly attack your fears, you'll find unexpected forces closing around you and coming to your aid.